Hey, gang, I'm getting all framed up here for the benefit of those of you who are watching live on YouTube. Okay, I don't normally do this, but I took a peek. I just took a peek at the poll result. And as I speak to you at 8 a.m. Eastern time, already 5,000 people have voted on today's poll question at Smerconish.com. And I'm not going to give anything away other than to say I love this question. No, I don't say that every day, but I love this one. And I've been saving it up and waiting for it. If you resided in New York City, for whom would you be voting for mayor? It is election day in New York City and indeed across the country. I think the New York City race is the one that has captivated the most attention nationwide. So I'll have something to say on that in just a moment. Parks Casino. I will be there mingling tomorrow night. Stories and cigars with Smerconish, all sold out. I'll tell you something funny. Tomorrow night will be a night of storytelling by yours truly. I don't want to give too much away. It's the second year that I've been invited to do this. And I'm intent on telling different stories than I told last year. And it was really a fun night. I only wish that we could accommodate more people given the demand. I don't know that there will be a third edition, but I am going to tell stories tomorrow night about my relationship with former Philadelphia Mayor Frank Rizzo. And I'm thinking about those stories because tomorrow night, but also because of this mayoral race. And, the thing about the mayoral race is I know the polls show Mamdani with a commanding lead, and he will probably win. He will probably win. But these big city races, sometimes they blow it. Sometimes they blow it, especially in a race with certain dynamics, usually racial. You don't have a racial dynamic here, but you do have an ethnic dynamic to this race. And I don't know that people are always truthful with pollsters. Anyway, tomorrow night, Parks Casino, I will be mingling action entertainment at the Excite Center, sing-along brunches, Latin dance nights, country line dancing, comedy nights. I mean, you name it, they've got it. And the Excite Center is where all the big name entertainment comes. If you want to get out of the house, and especially now with the darker skies, at 5:00 at night, go mingle at Parks. You got to be 21. Gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER. Okay, yesterday, 35,647. Speaking of daylight saving, singular time. With regard to daylight saving, would you rather have more daylight in the morning or evening? Pretty decisive. 71.94% of us want our daylight in the evening. Yeah, definitely. Took a train back from Washington, D.C., arrived in Philly at about 5 p.m. last night. It's dark, just miserable, absolutely miserable. Could cause me to, move south in search of the equator. Today's poll question, it's the greatest. If you resided in New York City, for whom would you be voting for mayor? For whom would you be voting for mayor? Zohran Mamdani, the favorite, Andrew Cuomo, or Curtis Sliwa? I'm looking at the Times, which I also always purchase because I like to touch it. Headline: Election Day offers test of vigor for Democrats in the city and beyond. And then you've got the New York Post, keep the commie out. Says the Post, President Trump has weighed in on the race, with one of his blistering Truth Social posts. I'm reminded of something, and I tweeted about this morning. The New York Times, as of October of 2024, is out of the endorsement business in races other than the presidency. I'm looking at their announcement. This was after 160 years. The New York Times editorial board will no longer make endorsements in New York elections, including in races for governor and mayor of New York City. The change will be immediate. The paper does not plan to take a stance in Senate, congressional, or state legislative races in New York this fall or in next year's New York City elections when Mayor Eric Adams is seeking a second term against a growing field of challengers. I tweeted and I said, I wonder if the Times is regretful, wishing that they had maintained a say in a race like today? Or are they relieved that they don't have to choose sides? If I were in New York, I'll answer the question. If I were in New York City, no, I could not vote for Zohran Mamdani. I could not vote for Zohran Mamdani for the sort of obvious reasons, which are the things that he has said that are controversial, his positions and statements vis-a-vis Israel. And by the way, I am a two-state solution person, and I am critical of Netanyahu for all the reasons I've said so often here. But Mamdani takes it a step too far. But that's not my primary thought. My primary thought is that this is a brutal job. This is a big city, tough job. I think arguably as difficult, all right, maybe not, but damn close to President of the United States. It's amazing when you realize that it's a $116 billion budget and a 300,000 person workforce. And I just think that he's too green. I just think that he is too green to be handed the reins to that task. Some interesting perspectives which show that I'm not alone. The Washington Post editorial page. The Washington Post editorial page. One of the most notable aspects of Mamdani's political success is that voters know what they're getting. The young politician was born into a life of wealth and privilege, and from that perch, he adopted a worldview centered around destroying the economic system that made his adopted country thrive. Voters have been reminded repeatedly about Mamdani's long history of radical politics. The unapologetic socialist has called for higher taxes to fund government-run grocery stores, free childcare, free public transportation, and vastly expanded state power in the housing market. He once called the New York Police Department racist, anti-queer, and a major threat to public safety. That's a quote. He suggests rerunning a long list of failed social policy experiments more worthy of a late-night bull session at Bowdoin College than a serious political reform. Further along, this is the part that I find most troublesome. The 34-year-old has only had one full-time job outside of politics, working as a counselor at a nonprofit for about a year. His greatest accomplishment before winning the Democratic mayoral primary in June was getting elected to the state assembly. If he wins, he'll go from leading a paid staff of 5 to overseeing a $116 billion budget and 300,000 city workers. It's notable that voters see many of Mamdani's flaws, and then there's some polling data that talking about many New Yorkers not believing a plurality who don't think that he's got the qualifications. Why are so many voters siding with someone they think is unqualified? No doubt he is a generational political talent who has successfully used social media to mobilize voters. It's also fair to assume that New Yorkers are unimpressed with the wheezing political establishment and what it has to offer. Cuomo gained some national notoriety for his opposition to Trump during the pandemic, but was forced from office amid sexual harassment allegations. Eric Adams, the current Democratic mayor, dropped out after a series of corruption scandals, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Then there's the New York Times coverage of a couple of days ago. Questions of readiness persist for Mamdani. Is the 34-year-old assemblyman, who until recently managed a paid staff of only 5, ready to lead the nation's largest city? Interviews and public opinion polling suggests a broad swath of voters, including plenty of Democrats and some of Mamdani's supporters, still harbor reservations or outright worries about his ability to step into a role considered to be the second hardest in American government after the presidency. Oh, funny, I didn't get that far in the story before. I didn't know that they equated it the same way that I did. And then there's a quote from a 21-year-old. I'm not going to lie, I'm a bit nervous. He's like really young. This is his first time doing something of this level. It's definitely a bit nerve-wracking. And then the polling data. Quinnipiac University released an October poll that found half New York City voters had doubts about his qualifications, even as he ran up a strong lead over his rivals. Asked whether Mamdani had the right kind of experience to be mayor, just 39% said that he did. 47% said that he did not. In contrast, 73% said Cuomo had the right kind of experience. 24% said the same of Curtis Sliwa. I mean, look, I get the baggage that Cuomo brings to the table, but in terms of readiness and ability to do that job, he was not only the attorney. I mean, obviously, we know he was a 3-term governor, and the circumstances on which in which he left, not excusing any of that, but in terms of ability to do the job, 3-term governor of New York. He had been the attorney general. It was from attorney general that he ran for governor of New York. And he was also the HUD secretary. He was also the secretary of the Department of Housing and Urban Development. So, I mean, I get it. People must really harbor dislike for Cuomo if, when viewed with the experience of a 34-year-old who's been a state assemblyman and that's it, if they're like, oh, I got to go for the assemblyman instead of going for the qualified guy. So what do you want to do? Do you want to take the qualifications with the baggage that Cuomo brings to the table, or do you want to take the risk because of the excitement of a 34-year-old that half of New York City says lacks the qualifications to run the town? Stakes are too high, in my view, to take that risk. If I were in New York City today, I wouldn't vote for Curtis Sliwa, although I'm entertained by him. And, I enjoy, frankly, watching some of his statements and banter. And I have to say, and Frank Morano, the Republican New York City councilman who was a guest yesterday, he makes some points that I agree with in terms of Sliwa showing a command of issues in the debates that I didn't think he possessed. But I couldn't vote for Sliwa. Well, if I were in New York City, I'd be voting for Cuomo. I agree with the polling data relative to the concerns on Mamdani, and I haven't even gotten into the comments about intifada. I don't even have to get there. I'm troubled, obviously, by things that he has said, but it's qualifications that are the first level of review. How's that? This is going to be a really interesting result at Smerconish.com, because so often a progressive or more progressive choice is the one that wins our polling questions, and I'm often in the minority, but I don't know about this. I saw what I saw before I started when 5,000 people had voted. I don't know where it ends. So vote wherever you are. Today is election day. I've already voted. I voted a week ago and got confirmation that my ballot was received. And so my string continues. As far as I know, I've never missed an election for which I have been eligible to vote. I said that very carefully, didn't I? Yeah, because when I became an independent in 2010, I could no longer vote in primaries in Pennsylvania. I have someone researching this so that I can say it more definitively. The possibility exists that there was a springtime ballot initiative for which I didn't show up. Theoretically, that could have happened. I don't know. But for every election that I've been eligible, as far as I know, I've gone out, and I take the franchise seriously, is what I'm trying to say. Going to be interesting to see what happens in Virginia. I think we know the outcome in Virginia. New Jersey could come down to the wire. California, which I'd been really excited about, Prop 50, seems a foregone conclusion that Gavin Newsom and the Democrats are going to get what they want, and Newsom will be the victor in that regard of the election. But all eyes are on New York City. Final thing that I want to say about this. I believe that tonight at about 10 p.m., if the elections go the way they are forecast, it's going to be a split screen, and you're going to see Mikey Sherrill, if she squeaks out a victory in New Jersey, and Abigail Spamberger from Virginia. Like, they're on one side of the screen, and then Mamdani is on the other side of the screen, and the debate becomes which represents, the future of the Democratic Party. And we'll have a lot of fun talking about that tomorrow in terms of, can you sell Mamdani-style democratic socialism nationwide? I have my doubts. Please subscribe to the YouTube channel. We're about to pass a milestone in subscribers that I'm excited about. and set yourself up for notifications because Mingle Project episode number 7 is going to be released before the end of this week. And I am really excited about my guest. All right, go vote for whomever you are voting. Go vote for real and then vote at Smerconish.com on the poll question of the day. See you, gang. Happy Election Day.